The way the door to life and death swings open depends on how we approach the door of ultimate reality. It brings to mind this story we've probably all heard, the story of Master Huineng, 638 to 713 CE. It's recorded in the Platform Sutra. Huineng received the robe and bowl from the fifth patriarch, Master Hongren, at Dongchan Monastery in Huangmei County, Hubei Province. Hongren acknowledged Huineng's deep understanding of the Dharma and passed on the robe and bowl to him. But here's the kicker: after getting the robe and bowl, Hongren told Huineng to disappear for 15 years. Yup, for those 15 years, Huineng had to keep a low profile, stay away from the public eye. Why? Well, according to Hongren, it's not the right time to speak, and spreading the teachings of Buddhism ain't gonna be easy. And you know what? Hongren's judgment of the era and the circumstances was spot on. Back then, nobody was really interested in hearing about Buddhism. It took another 15 years for things to change. Imagine if Huineng got the robe and bowl in 1978. Hongren would have been like, dude, disappear for 30 years, no teaching Buddhism. Why? Same reason, it's not the right time to speak, and spreading the teachings of Buddhism ain't gonna be easy. I'm pretty sure it would have played out like that, man. After 15 years, Huineng arrived at Faxing Temple in Guangzhou. He felt that the time was right to come out and teach the Dharma. On that day, the abbot of Faxing Temple, Master Yinzong, was giving a lecture and discussing a question. What was the question? Whether it was the wind or the flag that was moving when the flag, also known as a banner, waved in the wind. One group of monks argued that it was the wind that moved, while another group argued that it was the flag. The debate went on without resolution. Suddenly, someone stood up and said, "It's neither the wind or the flag that moves, but the heart." The whole assembly was astonished. Master Yinzong approached the person who made this statement and quietly told him, "I know who you are. You must be the one who received the robe and bowl in Huangmei." And who did he refer to as Huangmei? The fifth patriarch, Master Hongren. The individual openly admitted it, and that person was Huineng. So, what's the point of this story? Some people might think that both the wind and the flag moving are valid answers, but they never consider that it could be the movement of a person's heart, right? We tend to see the movement of objects as something objective and inherent to their nature, without any connection to our own emotions. If you think this way, it shows your understanding is stuck in the pre-Kantian era, the time before Kant. It's like treating motion and stillness as qualities of physical things, as if they have their own fixed states. But in reality, material things themselves don't care if they're moving or at rest. Motion and stillness are just ways we categorize and make sense of the external world. That's what Kant believed. Take a moment to think about it. When you say something is in motion or at rest, is it determined by the thing itself? No, it's our own minds that determine it. Kant calls it a category. That's why we don't waste time discussing whether material reality is absolutely in motion or absolutely at rest, because that's meaningless. Instead, we use the categories of motion and stillness to describe our experiences. Huineng reached a similar level of thinking. So, it's not the wind that moves, and it's not the flag that moves, it's the movement of a person with a heart. But here's the thing, Huineng's concept of a mind is different from Kant's. Kant sees the mind as the logical thinker, the one that assigns categories. Huineng, being a Chinese philosopher, approached it differently. He didn't explicitly talk about categories, but the underlying idea is the same: the mind determines. And he takes it even further than Kant. So, what does it mean? This mind of ours not only decides whether things in nature are moving or still, but it also deeply influences how we handle social interactions. Let's take Buddhism as an example. There's a saying in Buddhist teachings that goes like this: in the human world, you can say that within society, there are always 8 types of winds blowing at you. Some people praising you is one type of wind, some people criticizing you is another type, and some people spreading rumors or falsely accusing you is yet another type of wind. In total, there are 8 kinds of winds. So, Su Dongpo, 11th century CE, was into Buddhism too, right? As he got deeper into his practice, he started feeling pretty accomplished. He even wrote a poem with these last lines: "Not even the 8 winds can shake me, sitting all cool on a fancy gold lotus." He was feeling super proud, thinking he had reached some next-level enlightenment. He sent that poem across the river to a monk buddy in the Buddhist community, wanting to show off his spiritual prowess. But guess what? The monk, who was chilling on the other side of the river, wrote just 2 words in response: "You are farting." One of Su Dongpo's peeps took the paper and brought it back across the river. When Su Dongpo read it, he got all fired up. "I've put in so much effort to be unbothered by the 8 winds, and this guy has the nerve to say I'm farting? I need to have a serious talk with him." He crossed the river to confront the monk and started arguing with him. And you know what the monk did? He just smiled and said, "You claim to be unaffected by the 8 winds, but my little fart managed to blow you all the way across from the other side." Now, I can't vouch for the authenticity of this story. It could be just a made-up tale, no fact-checking involved. But you know what? It's a good story that drives home a point and adds another layer of meaning to Huineng's teachings about human nature, right? So, here's the deal: those 8 winds that blow around? They're actually cooked up by your own mind. Picture this: someone showers you with compliments, but you don't let it get to your head. Someone throws shade at you, but you don't take it as an insult. Can you feel any wind blowing? Nope, not a breeze. It's not about putting up a fight or trying to brush off the winds. It's about realizing that these winds are all conjured up by your own thoughts. It's like reaching a higher level of understanding, man. According to Huineng and Kant, it's like this: our minds have this boundless aspect to them, and that's what determines how the world turns out. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, hey, is Wang Defeng all about pushing idealism and going all out with it? But hold your horses, folks. Let's not jump to that conclusion just yet. Now, let's get real. Where does the clash between materialism and idealism actually happen? Explaining that beef is a whole long discussion, and we ain't gonna cover it in just one short class. But here's the deal: whether we're talking about materialistic philosophy or idealistic philosophy, they're major parts and milestones in the grand saga of human philosophical thinking. So, take the time to really dive into them, understand their ins and outs, and you never know, it might just take our intellectual understanding to new heights and unlock some wisdom along the way. Alright, on to my next point. Philosophy is like shining a light on that infinite mind that's tucked away inside art and religion. We're talking about how philosophy relates to art and religion, you know? When it comes to the highest levels of human spiritual exploration, it's not just about science. It's about diving into these 3 realms: art, religion, and philosophy. They all play a part in reaching those deeper, more profound aspects of our existence. Einstein dropped a major bomb on the world with his theory of relativity, shaking up the field of physics like nobody's business. He completely transformed the way we understand the universe. Now, you're probably wondering, how on earth did Einstein pull off such a game-changer and solve the physics crisis of the late 1800s? Well, folks, Einstein achieved that mind-blowing breakthrough by tapping into his deep understanding of art and philosophy. He openly recognized how music and philosophy had a massive impact on his scientific thinking. And get this, he never gave up his beloved hobby of playing the violin. Yup, music was his jam. But here's the kicker, Einstein didn't stop at physics. He also had plenty to say about philosophy. He openly admitted that philosophers like Mach had a profound influence on him. Sure, Mach might not be a big shot in the European philosophical history books, but hey, he was a philosopher nonetheless. When it comes to the highest levels of human spiritual exploration, we're talking about art, philosophy, and religion. Art is like a window into the infinite mind, where finite images can unlock limitless visions. It's like diving into a bottomless pool of meaning that goes beyond words alone. And hey, let's not overlook religion, which definitely taps into that infinite mind. It allows us to go beyond the material world and grasp the essence of something greater, like God in Christianity. And you know what? Philosophy also plays a role in expressing that infinite mind within us. Now, what makes them different? Well, art and religion bring the infinite mind to life through practical means. They show us what it's all about in a tangible way. But philosophy? It's more about the theoretical stuff. It doesn't rely on fancy imagery or symbols. Instead, it uses plain old human language to express that infinite mind. It covers a wide range of topics and reveals some deep insights. That's why we call it the theoretical side of the infinite mind. Chinese people are different from Europeans. The Chinese nation is not defined by religion, although there are religious individuals within it. The cultural and spiritual essence of the entire nation is not rooted in religion, and this is beyond doubt. Europe has a long history dominated by the Middle Ages, which was the era of Christianity. Europeans are a religious people, so they find it somewhat baffling that Chinese people lack a belief in a governing deity. They wonder how a civilization can have such a lengthy history without a divine authority. Europeans can't wrap their heads around it and question what the Chinese nation relies on. You know what? In our history, there were times when everything was hunky-dory. Doors were left unlocked at night, and people actually returned lost stuff. Europeans scratch their heads wondering how a nation can pull that off without some god watching over us. But guess what? We get it. We Chinese rely on philosophy. It's our thing. We're a nation that fully embraces philosophy like nobody else in the world.